2-0 as Inter Miami wins the season opener. Kasey, we'll get to Messi, we'll get to Suarez, the individual performances in just a second, but big picture, what did you think of our first look at Inter Miami this year in a competitive match?
Well, I think it was kind of what a lot of people are expecting from Inter Miami, is to start games quickly, and then the old legs will tire as the game progresses. And that's really kind of what happened in this match. It was a case where I thought they did a really good job of pinning RSL in their own half. RSL really struggled to combine through midfield and to kind of relieve some of that pressure. I'm a little bit worried, and I know this has been a theme of what they've been talking about Miami, is that with that many older players on the field, particularly when the weather starts to get a little bit warmer, how are you going to be able to kind of cope for 90 minutes? So I think Tata will really have to figure out how he's going to have some squad rotation and get some different looks, because I don't think you're going to be able to play those four guys consistently week in and week out.
Yeah, Kasey, I got to say, for somebody who's been riding pretty high on this Inter Miami bandwagon, on our show on Monday, I picked Inter Miami to win MLS Cup. I picked Luis Suarez to win Golden Boot. I picked Messi to win MVP. I was a little bit underwhelmed tonight, and maybe that's natural. It's a regular season opener. They're not supposed to be at their best, but beyond underwhelmed, I was kind of disappointed, but not, Kasey, in the way that I thought. You know, this is the first game of the season. Sure, you got some injuries. Kramaski's out. Farias, of course, we know is out kind of long-term. But you had the big four. You had all four of them fully fit, fresh, in the starting lineup. You're at home, and you're playing an RSL team that, and I know things can change over the course of the offseason, but Kasey, if we even go back to last year, they were below average defensively, in the bottom half of the league in terms of goals allowed. I thought Inter Miami would be much more dangerous in this game from an attacking standpoint. I'm with you. I think RSL's probably feeling a little bit unlucky here. There were, for me, massive stretches in that second half where RSL looked like they were closer to a first than maybe Inter Miami was to the second. So there are those defensive frailties for Inter Miami. Maybe some of that is legs. But I got to say, Kasey, I thought the attack would look better here today. I thought they'd really put up a big number against RSL. Am I crazy?
No, not necessarily, but I think the one part where you got to question us a little bit, you're talking about that you said they were fresh. I mean, they just went on a world tour before the season started, and you're trying to think that then they're going to be fresh for the opening game. You know, remember what MLS is about. MLS is peaking at the right time, and they were taking advantage of some marketing around the world. And it wasn't necessarily about getting yourself in the perfect position for this opening game. And I think you saw that. You saw that in that performance. Yes, there was moments, Seb, where the combination play looked really good, particularly in the first half, except for that final product that just kind of missed a little bit. Shots were scuffed, or maybe the final ball wasn't quite there. Then they got the gift of the opening goal, and then it was almost like it was at halftime, all right, we're just going to cruise this. It's going to be easy. And give Salt Lake some credit. They looked nervous in the first half. Second half, they didn't at all, and really should have got something out of it. But, look, Miami will be better, no question about it. As this season progresses, I think they'll get into more of a rhythm. I think preseason was a little heavier than it needed to be, and wasn't exactly the preparation for opening day.
Yeah, there is some part of me, it's such a long season, that wants to, cut Inter Miami some slack here. You don't have to be maybe perfect from the get-go. But if we think back, Kasey, even to last year, these guys hadn't had a full preseason. They kind of rocked up and took Inter Miami from the worst team in the league to the best almost overnight. So I think maybe just based on what I saw last year, I kind of expected them to be red hot from the jump here. Let's focus in specifically on Lionel Messi, because he's the guy that makes everything go here. He obviously maybe didn't have the massive performance that we saw, the staple performance that we saw in his first game in the Leagues Cup, if you remember, with that golazo against Cruz Azul last year. Nevertheless, I mean, he's at the middle of everything that they do well, isn't he?
Well, and I think that's what you'll see a little bit more from Messi, I think, this season. I thought it was really interesting when he came into the league, just how much space they allowed him to get in behind. And I don't think anybody's going to do that. I think he's going to be more effective as he dropped a little deeper into midfield and almost played more as a playmaker, and then come into the play a little bit later. And there, you still saw moments like when he had that little drag back right at the end of the game, and McMath made a decent save from the angle. he's going to torment defenders. There's no question about it. But I think he will also have a lot more assists, I think, this year as well, particularly with Suarez. That was dirty. I mean, the fact that he just went for a player on the ground, chipped it over him, and looked for the shot, I thought was hilarious. I started laughing.
Yeah. He had the MRI in preseason. He had kind of the whispers of the muscular injury. And actually, what's weird about Messi in this game for me is he seemed to get better. I don't know if you agree with this, Kasey. As the game wore on, if there was anybody that looked tired kind of from the demands of this worldwide preseason tour early, to me it was Messi. He didn't look like his usual self. But then as the game wore on, and really maybe it's because RSL opened things up, they're being a little bit more aggressive, but as soon as he had any little inkling of space late in the game, man, he really seemed to take over. So to me, I actually thought while the other players seemed to be fading late in this game, Messi's performance is getting better. The one guy who seemed to be going in the opposite direction, Kasey, is Luis Suarez. I know he picks up an assist there late in the game, and I did pick him as my Golden Boot pick. But going off the eyeball test today, Kasey, I mean, he looked every bit of 37. And 6 weeks ago, he sat in front of me in Fort Lauderdale and told me his knee was okay. I should have asked about the rest of his body. I mean, I'm worried about Luis Suarez and how he's going to handle an MLS season after what we saw tonight.
I loved the attitude in the first half, but then you saw a significant drop-off in the way that Miami were able to press Salt Lake in the second. So, and it was 68 degrees in Miami. Wait till it's 98 degrees in Miami and 98% humidity and see how you're going to press. But it'll be interesting to see, because I know, look, it's first game, it's your debut. You're full of energy. You want to really show well. And look, I've always admired Suarez for his work rate. Now he's going to have to find ways to say, okay, we'll press for 5 minutes here, we'll drop off. We'll use more of his intelligence than his legs.
Kasey, now that we've seen them in a real game, you know, aside from the fact that there's age and you got to kind of watch the minutes of these guys, and maybe the tactics towards the end of the game are going to be different than the beginning based on everybody's health. Did RSL give us a blueprint? Did they show us anything today about how to slow down this Inter Miami that maybe the rest of the league can copy? What did we learn tactically about this Tata Martino side? And maybe if there is a weakness for the rest of the league to kind of focus on.
Well, you have to clog things up centrally. I mean, that's first and foremost, because you can see that the way they wanted to play, they really want to do 1- and 2-touch passing centrally and then find a way to get in behind you. I thought there was times during last season, early on, I was just shaking my head and just going, why are you allowing 30, 40-yard space to get in behind? And I think you have to start the line back, but then I thought there was almost too much respect from RSL in that first half. So it's finding that good balance between saying, okay, we're not going to allow you acres of space to just make simple combination passes in behind us. But then we also have to understand that we still can't just pack in and allow all those entry passes to then turn and run at the defense. So, yeah, I think there was a little bit where you kind of analyze the first half of RSL and say, okay, maybe that's a little bit too conservative. And that in the second half, I think if RSL was just a little more clinical in the final third, this could have been a different outcome.